Tropical Storm Fred is over the Dominican Republic. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Naso with this Wednesday afternoon update on the tropics. Quite a lot to talk about as August heats up. We have our Tropical Storm Fred, which has made landfall here right along the south coast of the Dominican Republic in the general vicinity of Santo Domingo. They've already had very gusty winds, and they're getting lashed with heavy rain as well. This should be moving over Hispaniola over the next 12 to 24 hours, and then pop out over water, and by Thursday should start to intensify again. We have an invest area out here in the Atlantic. This is invest 95L, and it is forecast to continue towards the west or west-northwest, and it could develop. We'll talk about that, but let's get to Fred since it's closest to home. Here's the latest on Tropical Storm Fred as of 2 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. It was at 18.5 north, 70.1 west. Winds of 45, so it's a minimum to moderate tropical storm. It's moving west-northwest at 16, so it has slowed down from yesterday. And late this morning, it was jogging a little more west along the coast. It appears to have begun that northwesterly component again towards the west-northwest. 1,006 millibar pressure, it was 1,013 yesterday. So even though it's still only a minimum to moderate tropical storm, it's definitely better organized than it was. We do have tropical storm warnings out, obviously, for the Dominican Republic along the south coast all the way to the north coast of the Dominican to the Haiti border. And we have a tropical storm watch from Haiti all the way back to the Dominican Republic, the Turks, Caicos Islands, the Southeastern Bahamas, and now many provinces of Cuba, including Ciego de Avila, Las Tunas, Santiago de Cuba, Guantanamo, and a couple more that I'm unable to pronounce, but if you go to the Hurricane Center website, you'll get them all. Cuba, you guys are going to get a lashing on the eastern edge as we see Fred move along the coast. Again, the forecast from the Hurricane Center, this is iffy, because when a system's this weak, the center could reform further north, further south. We're just not sure yet, but the general thinking is over the next 24 hours, right over water and very near the eastern coast of Cuba, and then by Thursday night back over water and strengthening slowly along the Cuban coastline and the Florida Straits, and then a faster strengthening in the eastern Gulf of Mexico by the weekend, with an eventual landfall threat anywhere from the Keys, South Florida, to the Panhandle. We just don't know yet. I'll show you some of the computer models, but again, there are many, many factors at work here. Anybody within this cone needs to be overlooking their hurricane plans in case Fred comes their way. Here's the visible satellite imagery, and you can see it's better organized than yesterday, definitely. It's right in here along the coastline. They're getting lashed. You do see some signs here, see these arcing clouds. That is not necessarily favorable for development, and it's beginning to be impacted by westerly wind shear in part from a trough in the upper levels over the state of Florida. I'll show you that on the shear map. You can see we have definitely increasing shear values in front of it, very favorable behind it. However, this should get out of the way by the time Fred pulls over those warm waters north of Cuba, and that should allow some strengthening. You can see the forecast models are in pretty good agreement, but again, if the center is just a little bit to the south and over land, it won't be able to strengthen much. If it stays over water longer, it could strengthen much more. Again, if you're in South Florida, Key Largo, Key West, Miami, even up towards Broward County, West Palm Beach, that area, you guys want to be overlooking your plans in case we do have a hurricane threat. This is the HWRF model, and you can see it brings our system here over the Dominican Republic, and watch what happens to it. It weakens, it falls apart over the next 12-24 hours, but it slowly builds over those warm waters, and look at that, becomes a tightly coiled, powerful hurricane of at least Category 1 or 2 intensity. Some models have shown Category 3, which would be a major hurricane, anything 3 and above, over, look at that, directly over Key Biscayne and southeast Florida. And then it brings it over the state and then back in towards the Big Bend and the Panhandle as a weaker tropical system. Now that's the HWRF computer model as of 12Z. This is the HMON hurricane model. You can see it makes it fall apart, keeps it much further west over Cuba, doesn't do anything with it, not through the Keys, nothing. And then it organizes in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and look at that, a hurricane landfall near Mobile Bay. Back in 1979, Hurricane Frederick, not Fred, but Frederick, hit Mobile Bay as a Category 4. That's certainly not a Category 4, but it looks like a hurricane on that signature, and that would be a problem for the Gulf Coast. So the bottom line is anybody along the Gulf Coast and in Florida, it's too soon to say where and when and with what intensity Fred will eventually impact you, but it would be smart to just make sure you have the batteries, the flashlights, the generators. If you have one, never use it inside because that carbon monoxide will kill, and you have no idea how many people die of carbon monoxide poisoning from that. In case of power outages, and make sure you gas up your car and have some money set aside, prescriptions filled, that kind of thing that you won't have to deal with later in the event that you have to take action. Here's our Invest area out in the Atlantic. This is Invest 95L. This is looking like it could develop and move generally straight west-northwest, that very ominous track right towards the northern islands, the Bahamas, and potentially the southeast coast. This is a long ways away. We have plenty of time to watch it. We don't have anything there yet, but there is a spin. It's kind of elongated today and arcing, but nevertheless, this is going to be a feature that's not going to go away as it moves towards the west-northwest. And we'll see if we get our next storm out of this. By the way, the next name on the list will be Grace. Grace is one of the original names that was used since 1991. In fact, Hurricane Grace of 91 helped create the perfect storm off the East Coast. Before Grace, it was actually Hurricane Gloria back in 85, which was retired. So there's a little hurricane name history. We rotate the same 6 name lists, but Grace has been used in 91, and then again in 97, 2003, 2009, 2015. We've never had a big Hurricane Grace. And hopefully, if this does become Grace, we won't have to deal with anything bad, but we're going to keep an eye on it. You can see it has very favorable conditions ahead of it, wind shear-wise. A little bit dry out there, but not as bad as past years. There's Fred over the Dominican Republic. So here's the overall look of the satellite of the Atlantic Basin and the Pacific. You can see there's Fred over the Dominican. We're going to watch it as it moves over the entire island in towards warmer waters, and we'll see what happens down the road. We have our 2 waves. Here's one here that's looking a little bit interesting today, and there's our Invest moving off Africa. That definitely looks like it holds potential for the future. And then in the Pacific, we have our 2 systems out there. We have 2 tropical storms. This is Tropical Storm Kevin weakening and moving out. This is Tropical Storm Linda, almost a hurricane, and it's forecast to be a powerful Category 2, but that will also move out. So we're going to continue to watch the tropics. I'm Mike Naso. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube page, share the link, and we will continue with updates as we watch Fred move over the Greater Antilles of the Caribbean, headed for the Turks, Caicos, Bahamas, and potentially the United States.